it. So once again, I'm Nikki O'Dell, and I'll give you a little background about myself. I am the founder, president, and agency director of Talentology, and I went to Old Dominion University and the University of Costa Rica, majored in Spanish and minored in women's studies. And I've been an entrepreneur since 2001 when I graduated college. And I launched a previous business. It was a language school where we taught 11 languages and we translated 60. And then I started teaching for years, and then I eventually launched Talentology in 2016. I am certified by the Society for Human Resources Management as a SHRM CP, as a certified professional. And I have over 23 years of experience in running human resources and professional development training and various operational related things. I have had over 21 jobs, and including some professional careers and others that were just jobs from the time I begged for one of my parents to sign my work permit when I was 14 so I could work at McDonald's because it was like my life goal at the time. And so since then, I've done so many other things. I've worked in hospitality, television, been in over 70 commercials on TV shows and ads around the world, as well as behind the scenes. I've worked in investments in the financial services industry. I was a teacher for 13 years, a high school Spanish teacher. Worked in telecom and other areas. So I love knowing a little bit about a lot of different fields. And I have a lot of background that has culminated in what Talentology is. So I created Talentology so that I could do the work I love with the people I like working with and on the types of projects I want to do. But I really wanted to create time freedom for myself and, enjoy my life on my own terms. So I recognized that I needed to over the years, I've made a lot of mistakes. Of course, I've spent a lot of money on lots of tools and resources, and I've done a lot of things where I realized that, I have to operate more efficiently, and I'm constantly trying to do that. And sustainability is my thing, which leads us here to the topic that we're on today, which is sustainability. And so when we talk about sustainability, I really want to frame our conversation today. And I say conversation because I would love for you to ask questions when we pause, but also it's a conversation that's ongoing. What is sustainability? So just to give the framework, when we think about sustainability and in operations, a lot of people are still trying to catch on and understand what we're talking about. Because when we think about sustainability in the traditional sense, we think about, we might know the letters ESG, which stand for environmental, social, and governance. But we really kind of think of the environmental part. So we're thinking electric cars or vehicles, excuse me, not just cars, but electric vehicles, recycling, reducing, reusing, LED light bulbs or more efficient, light sources, reducing our carbon footprint, water, reduction and different sources of, water usage and preservation and things like that. And those are all right. You're correct if you were thinking those. Same with governance. So you might think, okay, I'm a little bit familiar with governance and sustainability, but just to make sure you understand that governance is truly like the governing of your organization, whether it's a board of directors or your executive leadership. It's also financial governance, oversight of your finances. And it's the employees, the diversity of your teams or the different employment configurations, I'll just say, as well as managing risk and compliance issues. So if you thought about any of those things with environmental or governance, you were correct. Now, what we're going to focus on for today's presentation, because we do only have an hour, is the social aspect of ESG. And it's not, the great thing is that they actually, if done right, environmental, social, and governance support one another. So they're not supposed to operate in their own silo anyway. So as we move along, my goal is that you see the connection between them all. So again, focusing on the social aspect, I want to define sustainability. There's more than one definition, but for today's presentation and conversation, sustainability is the practice of building systems that last, that's keeping value moving through shifts in people, tools, and time. Okay, and you can see some of the synonyms: resilience, durability, long-term growth. So that is the focus and the framework for today's sustainable operations conversation. So when we look at sustainability, anything we do in business should have a goal or have goals associated with it. So our sustainability goals overall should be, now yours can be more specific, but overall our sustainability goals should be to scale your business so you can step out of it and scale it up, right? So you step out of the business and it should not rely solely on you. It should not rely on you eventually at all. And then you can scale up your operations. Your another goal should be that you have predictable, profitable operations that run without you. So there's the key again, that running without you. And then lastly, operational alignment with your ESG, environmental, social, and governance, and your mission, vision, values. So if what you're doing to support ESG should be in alignment with your mission, vision, and values, because your mission, vision, and values drive your operations anyway. So if you're adding in now a new focus, for some of you it might be new, or if it's an existing focus, or you need to maybe realign to make sure that what's driving your organization, the roadmap, is actually aligned, ESG and your mission, vision, and values. So I'll share some about our mission, vision, and values at Talentology so you can see the connectivity as we go along. So our mission is to connect the best people, products, and production with each of our clients to support sustainable workplaces, workforces, and workflows. So just as we are operating efficiently and sustainably, that's our goal for the work we provide our clients. Our vision is to create platforms for talented people to thrive. And our values are to put people first, encourage curiosity and collaboration, to keep our word, and to open doors. And so, I actually wanted to ask you all to share some of your operational pain points. Before we move on, I want you to now reflect on your business. If you're just starting out, you are included as well, though. And I'm not talking access to capital, not at this moment. We're not talking about that today. I'm not talking about gaining new employees or talent acquisition. I'm talking about when you're operating, just brain dump and throw in the chat. What are some of your operational pain points? What hurts? What's causing bottlenecks? And I'm going to be quiet while you do it. Hopefully we're still thinking. I don't see any answers yet in the chat. I'll give you a few more seconds. Just be thinking about what are some of the things that you struggle with every day in your operations. Perfect. All right. So I'm seeing consistent social media presence. It applies if it's your pain point. Thanks for sharing, Jess. Physically adding new contacts to my CRM. Okay. So I think you're also saying manually, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Time management. Ooh, I'm so glad you shared that, Amanda. Brenda said inconsistent contracts. Okay. All right. Anyone else want to share? Customer building. Okay. Awesome. All right. So keeping those in mind, let's continue and look at some that I shared with you. So, and you might not have put these in the chat, but you might identify with them. So really kind of universally across the board, business owners, entrepreneurs, small business owners, especially as we're growing, we encounter inconsistent workflows, communication gaps and missed information, lack of prioritization during high pressure. So think about one thing that we always have to do is be prepared for a pressure test. If we got 5 clients to submit an inquiry today or a request for our services today, there's going to be some pressure because now you have to figure out, like, are we prepared? Do we have the workflows? Do we have everything in place? Do we have the people? Can we really service this? Do we have this capacity? Also, slow or poor decision making, overloaded CEO and overloaded teams. reactive versus proactive operations. So something comes in and we're like, okay, let me figure out how do I do this? How do I serve this? Lack of metrics and feedback loops, unclear expectations and accountability, inefficient client or customer processes, and weak documentation culture. Now, did anyone identify with any of those? If you didn't share, you can just put a yes in the chat. If you didn't put those in the chat, but you identify with any of those. Amanda says yes. Yes, yes. Okay, so whew, listen, if you all said no, I don't know what I do with my presentation today. So here we are. So these are pretty standard across the board. So what we want to focus on is understanding that when it comes to sustainable operations, there are three pillars. And by pillars, I'm talking systems. So three pillars: people systems, process systems, and planet systems. All of those tie back into what? ESG, right? So people systems is when you have, actually, let me define systems. So the great thing is, I don't know if it's a positive or negative, but from my teacher roots, before I just assume everyone understands everything, I like to break down certain terms, even if they seem obvious, into smaller elements. So when it comes to systems, let's just define it. The word system means a combination of individual elements. So just think of element. That's each one of those individually, they combine to make one system. Okay. So your people systems, which we'll go into detail in just a moment, when they're in place and they're strong, they empower performance. When they're weak, they prevent or prohibit performance. Your process systems, those are individual elements that make up how you operate every day, your processes. When done right, they simplify. You simplify your processes and you can replicate them. When done wrong, they're probably unclear, they're causing confusion, and they are the bottlenecks. And finally, your planet systems, individual elements that make up your contributions to the planet. And if you design them for efficiency, you can make positive contributions to the planet. If you don't, then you will likely be either not making any positive contributions, or you might be harming the planet. So we're going to look at how we can tie them together and focus on sustainable operations. All right, let me say. All right, so with your pillar one, people systems, this is where I want to spend some time, because you all, it starts with us. All of us here, or most of us, I think, on the call are CEOs, founders, presidents. We started the company, or we're working with a company, and we are even the program manager or something over. We're our mini CEO over something. All of this, the first person in the people system is you. So what's so critical is that we set boundaries and that we have organization. You cannot hire, well, you should not. You really should not hire someone else to say, hey, create the boundaries for my company and create all the organization, because you're just an element in the system and you're not familiar with what's going on. You can hire someone to do it with you, but you should always know what's happening in your organization and make sure that you approve and make sure that it's actually right for your vision, because you're the visionary most likely. So with boundaries and organization, this starts with you. And we're going to go into some examples and see if we can examine ourselves and see where we can improve with our own boundaries and organization. Then guiding your team with clarity, it creates the experience for others. So Jaren on the call, she's my admin. I can say she's the COO technically if I wanted to. But the thing is, she's not the COO, but I have to provide clarity for her because she's with me with everything that we do pretty much. And so if I am not organized or I'm not providing her with clarity, I can't expect the support I need from her. And so sometimes, I realize I have to restate something, or I had my thoughts in my own head and I kind of gave them to her as an overview, and she's really great at pulling out what that really all means and translating it. But I really have to make sure that I'm clear on the vision so that I can share it with her and others on our team as we go along. Otherwise, people are just kind of wandering, doing their own thing. Now I am in a green office, so I have this the lights turning off. Forgive me, we're sustainable. What can I say? All right, so I'm going to talk in the dark. So now the next thing is a time audit. If you have not done a time audit, I encourage you to, and I'll talk to you about it more. But how we spend our time every day is is so critical. And it should not be like, well, let me see what's on my calendar. Because if my calendar says I have to be at 7 different places today, then that's how I'm spending my time. It should actually be, let me determine how my time needs to look so that I can do critical tasks for my business, critical tasks for my family, critical tasks for myself, and then make sure that I leave enough room to actually get that work done as well as balance out my life. And depending on the stage, if you're in the grind phase, the hustle phase, you don't have family that you have to worry about other than yourself, then you can dedicate different amounts of time than the next person. Someone else who might have kids or a spouse or, taking care of an aging parent, for example, they're going to have different allotments of their time. But your calendar should not drive your time. Your time needs should drive your calendar. And we'll talk about that. And then lastly, empowering decision authority. So if you're a micromanager, all I can tell you is one tip: stop right now, because you're the bottleneck in your company. If you are just hey, do whatever you want, I would say stop right now, because you're going to allow someone to blow up your company. You've got to have balance between empowering decision authority, but also having oversight and being either you're the final say or someone else has the final say, but you have empowered people with the tools and the systems and resources they need to make decisions and help run your business. So let's talk a little bit. We'll start kind of from the basic, the easy stuff. This is an example Drive file, Google Drive, Google Drive, which if you can just imagine your Google Drive file or your Outlook file, and it looks like you've got some things in an actual folder, you've got 300 individual files and documents, you've got images that are just loose, they're not categorized in group, I would say start there. Because something this small, maybe it works for you when you're at this stage of business. But what about, are you trying to stay at this stage? We really have to look at where we are now. And if we're early enough in our business, or if we can just maybe take care of it over the holidays, find a way to rein in what might be out of control right now. Because as you grow, it's only going to get more and more out of control. And so we want to take control of it as early as we can. If you were to get a 6-figure contract or a 7-figure contract, or even for some of us, our next big milestone is a 5-figure contract. Maybe it's $70,000. If you were to get that next big contract and all of a sudden you have to manage new clients' files and folders, even though they should be connected to your customer resource manager or customer relations manager, CRM, what if you don't have that in place yet, or you are just going to initially get a whole bunch of files, you have to create a whole bunch of them. The last thing you want is something as simple as your Drive folder or your desktop to be disorganized. So this is one element of the people systems that we need to make sure that we have in control. And as we go along, feel free to drop in questions. We'll come back to them. So again, sticking with the people systems, this is one of my favorite things. And Jaren has this, my admin I just told you about. She has this copy of ours. This is our real calendar guide. So in order to guide your team with clarity and create a positive experience for others that work around you, you have to set boundaries for yourself as well as clarity for them and instructions for them. So my calendar actually looks like this. And you don't have to take screenshots. We're actually going to give you a link where you can request it for free anyway. So it's just take a moment to follow through with me. So on the guide I give my admin, when on her very first day, the guide is, here's my calendar code. Okay. And this is for clarity. When I look at my calendar, I need to see these colors. When I color code my calendar, it also helps time block. So, and batch. So when I know that something is flamingo or faint red, it's an internal team meeting. And now, actually, sometimes depending on my eyes, I don't mind, as long as I know it's one of these two reds, I'm fine with it. But Faint red, internal team meeting. Dark green is a current or prospective client. Think green, right? Money green. Dark gray, block time, no meetings. It is blocked, whether it's for focus or whether I just need a breather or, whatever it is, that time is blocked. Yellow is travel time to and from an event, before and after. And orange is when I have in-person events. Sage, light green is for prospective talent or speakers or actors. And then for dark red, virtual presentations, trainings, webinars, appointments, things like that. And turquoise is my family and personal and social stuff. Light purple is any tech support. So we have services that we utilize, and they're technology related, or we're getting tech support. Those are in purple. Now yours don't have to be exactly mine, of course. I mean, obviously but what's important is that when you use a color code system, it actually lets your team know what's going on, because there's a legend, there's a guide here, but also it helps you see a snapshot of your calendar, and it helps you evaluate, wait, am I spending my time, when I look at my days and my week and my month and my year, is my time mainly going to internal team meetings? If it is, you're not building business. You're not bringing in new client prospects enough. You might be, doing too much family stuff if your whole calendar is blue and you're not leaving time for putting dark green meetings on. Okay. So those are just examples. But again, if you're interested in this, then at the end, we'll send you a link in the chat, and you can at least grab one and you can customize it. So when it comes to actually, there we go. I want to fast forward to my calendar really quickly, since I just was talking about my calendar. Even though I'll talk about it again when I talk about a time audit, here is my Monday today. Now, since I just showed you the legend, my 5:15 to 8:15 is my personal time. It doesn't matter what I do there. If I'm drinking coffee, if I'm stretching, if I'm running to the gym, if I am just turning on the TV and vegging, whatever I want to do, that's my personal time. And that's on my calendar every single day. Now, I don't take my first meeting any day until 10 a.m. And so my calendar, no one could even put something on my calendar before 10 a.m. because it's blocked across all calendar platforms. Okay. This is my team meeting with my admin. We have it every single Monday at 10 a.m. For today, I had this blocked just so I can breathe and focus before my webinar today with you all. And then the webinar is blocked here until 1. Well, right after that, I have a pre-bid conference, right? Prospective client for a contract opportunity. And then I'm traveling to an event a little later. So there's that yellow I was telling you about, and that event is in person, so it's orange. Well, after that, I'm going to get some focus time. There's nothing else that can go on my calendar. I'm going to show you then for tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow, I have to focus, and I'm only accepting these 3 appointments, but the rest of the day, I'm focused on some deadlines. I'm focused on some deep work that I don't want any other distractions from. And then, I'm sorry, I think this might have been Tuesday, Wednesday, but either way, tomorrow, this is actually my tomorrow. The other one was Wednesday. So here we are. I'm going to 2 in-person events, and in between, I want to focus. So I'm telling you, your life will change when you color code your calendar. Make the colors work for you, but your life will change. And your team will know, oh, when they see your calendar, you don't have to let them see the details, but you can let them see the color. So they can know, you know what? I also tell Jaren, I'm only accepting X amount of meetings per day. She knows that. So if someone is asking to meet with me and it's someone who she's going to manually schedule for, maybe it's another executive or, someone she's doing, there are some reasons for handling some appointments manually, when you don't want to send the CEO of a major company your scheduling link, right? She'll know not to put that link on a certain day when I already have an overload or I've met my maximum number of meetings. So you have to set those boundaries and define them with you first, then with your team, and they can see, ooh, boundaries met, let's move to the next day. All right. Now, focusing still on people systems, we have to define workflows. I can guarantee you that so many of us do not have, especially starting out, we did not have workflows. It doesn't matter if it's a 3-step workflow. There has to be, and there should be, an ironed out, clear roadmap of what has to happen in every process. So I just have 2 here. In the event that someone wants to make an appointment with us and the appointment is a no-show, there are some other things that happen before this workflow, or before in this workflow, like maybe 2 weeks ago, someone booked an appointment with us and they've already gone through that process. But here there's a no-show. Well, that no-show is notified to one of our users on the team. We send a message that there's a wait period. Then there's an email to that person who missed the appointment asking them, hey, do you want to reschedule? Then there's a wait period. If they didn't reschedule, we can send them one more email reminder asking them, hey, do you want to reschedule that appointment from whatever that day was? So that's a digital workflow that we set that up on our back end to make sure that people aren't falling through the cracks, right? Here's a workflow right here for a photography business, okay? So even if you don't have every single step yet defined, you should have at least an overall workflow outlined. So if you're a photographer, your first step might be, when you already are booked for something, prepare your gear and create a plan. Then get set up and capture images. Organize and sort the photos. This is now like when you're back in your office, back up the images, but you're going to prepare them to send to your client, edit the photos, deliver the final photos. Now, when in your own business, you know the software and the tools you have, so you know what you should start to learn, if you don't know, what your sub workflow should be. But these are the big ones. So when you can map them out, at least at a high level, then at least it gives you a starting point for which you can break down the sub flows, okay? But if you don't have workflows that are documented somewhere, when the pressure comes, you're going to go crazy. So it's really important to make sure that you and your team start developing these. And all you have to do to start is think, what happens every day in my business? So far, as I'm growing, even if I have only had 2 clients, what were those client engagements like? Where was I struggling? Where was I stressed? Where was the client frustrated? Or where did I save the day? Like, what could have been a disaster? We need to work on that so that it doesn't become a disaster. There's so many different, sub conversations that need to be had after any engagement, so you can make sure, are we documenting these workflows, and are they clear not only to me, not only to the owner of that workflow, but to the team and other people who need to know them? And then what if the person who currently does that work leaves instantly? That you should be able to pull a document or a file that says, hey, here's the workflow that you follow, right? It should be part of your onboarding and training. All right, moving on to back to time. And what you should be focusing on here is your most valuable resource, which is time. Where is your time focused every day? So we have a time audit a tool, and basically it's so important to know from the moment you open your eyes for the next 24 hours till you close them and open them again, what do you do every day with your time? If you can do that for 1 week, you can really see, again, not necessarily like, okay, well, let me just submit this in stone. Everything I've just done for the last 24 hours and 7 days this past week is right. I'm just going to start making that my pattern. No, you really need to evaluate. So here's a sample. So from 5 a.m. on any given day until 8 a.m., I'm sleeping. Okay. This is just an example, but I slept for 3 hours here. Then got up and did hair for these 2-hour blocks. Okay. Then got dressed. Then you're cleaning the house, 15 minutes. Work time right in there. You squeezed in 15 minutes of work. Then you've got emails. Then you're online ordering supplies for, looks like 2 hours, 1 or 2 hours. You took a coffee break. Now you're working on an RFP. Then you're, doing a little bit more work. Then you're emailing again. You have team meetings. You're picking up lunch. You have client meetings, sales calls. You're eating the lunch you picked up a couple hours ago, checking emails again, returning business calls, and you go to work one last little bit. Then you go home and do family time. Okay. Whatever that is, this is just I couldn't squeeze everything on one screen. But when you think about what you do, are you using your most valuable resource for your most valuable priority? If you are dedicating 20 hours a day to family and 4 hours a day to business, your business is going to be only that good. And you're not sleeping, so you're going to burn out. If you're balancing, 15 hours with work, 3 hours with family, and the rest with yourself, maybe your family needs some more time. Only you know what's best for you. But this is so critical when you really do a 7-day time audit. you can see like, wow, I was doom scrolling for 4 hours, 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening. I could have been sleeping, spending time with my kids, going on a walk with my husband or wife or fiance, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, or I could have just been having quiet time, or I could have been writing that proposal. So it's not something you should take for granted. It is your most valuable resource, and you should really document it to the T. All right. So I already shared that again, your calendar should not just get full and then you say, oh, well, this is my life and this is how I spend my time going forward. It should be you do an evaluation of your time, audit it, and then figure out where the adjustments need to be made and then create boundaries around those. Every day, if possible, should have focus time, but you can make it possible. Wherever that protected time is for work, the protected time is for family, and the protected time is for yourself. You need to make sure you create the boundary. Otherwise, people will email you, expect, return phone calls 24 hours a day. They will not respect your boundaries if you don't. All right. So I shared my schedule. I shared a very hectic looking one, but this is actually pretty light for me. I shared one that's pretty light anyway, but we have some focus work to do in that gray block. And then I had a meeting or a day where I have, important meeting in the morning, important in the afternoon, and just focus work in the day. Your calendar should not be full of do. Sometimes as far as meeting with people, because you need some time to focus on the doing of the work. All right. So we'll move along and talk about the empowering operations. Okay. So I talked about earlier empowering decision authority. One, quick 3-step process to prepare yourself to help other people be empowered is to do whatever the step is, whatever the process is, do it first. Watch your admin, watch your new client operations specialist, watch whatever that new employee is, have them watch you first. Just do the work. And one, you'll see bottlenecks along the way when you or the leader that's assigned do the work so that you can train someone else or show someone else. You'll notice when you're training them and pointing out, here's what we do, here's how we do it, here's where that file is, here's where those documents are housed. You'll realize if you can't quickly go to them, you can't identify and find them, oops, we need to fix that system anyway. Okay. But then when you do it and it's done well and they see it, then do it together. So I do, then we do. So I'll do a bit of it, whatever portion of it. Maybe today I'll do the first half and watch you do the second half, or I'll do this step and you do that step. However you divide that up. And then you watch on step 3, the other person do it. I do, we do, you do. The goal here is that eventually you, CEO, don't do that job, that activity, that task. So when it comes to small businesses and entrepreneurs, there are some things we love to do. Like personally, I love designing like in Canva. I can design the biggest, most complex, complicated diagram, document, whatever, image, anything visual all day. But that's not what I should be doing with my time. I am the most valuable employee at this moment in time in my business. So I should be focused on business development and larger things that are bringing in revenue, whatever it is, relationship building outside of the organization, and overseeing my team, making sure our culture's on point, things like that. And so it's so important that I make sure I empower anyone who's on our team to be able to do what they need to do without me on a regular basis. So for every single repetitive task, here are the 3 things you should think about. If it's repetitive, you should be able to either eliminate it, delegate it, or automate it. Period. So if you right now just take a few moments to think about tasks you do that are repetitive every single day or week or on every project. You don't have to share them in the chat, but you can. If you do, we'll just, I'll highlight them. If you have any questions or anything like that, I'll mention them and then talk through them. Otherwise, this is just for you. What are the tasks you do every day or with every client or for every project period. And actually, if you don't mind, anyone, just one person, I want to see if anyone could put one in the chat, something that you do every day. I'm so glad. Thanks, Amanda. Send welcome emails. That's on my list, and I'm about to show you something related to that. Awesome. Follow-up emails. Perfect. Thanks. So emails like came to our mind first. Okay. Calls and emails, whether it's returning voicemail messages, or if you were on a call when someone else was calling you, you have to call them back. Okay. So calls and emails. Now, when it comes to your specific business, your everyday task will vary, but everyone across the board gets emails and most people get phone calls. So you have to determine, since we'll use those as an example, am I going to eliminate emails? Probably not. Am I going to eliminate phone calls? Maybe. I know plenty of businesses who do not take phone calls. They don't make them outgoing and they don't receive them incoming. Okay. Those are normally more online businesses, but it depends, right? Respond to emails and clean up your inbox. Right. So when it comes to emails, we can say, you know what? We're not going to eliminate those. For the most part, that's not realistic. Are we going to delegate them? Possibly. So there are some emails that, since Jaren's on the call, I'll say that there are some emails that if I get them, I might forward them to her because someone had got my email address, but I'm not the person that handles that topic. But if it comes to but there's also, a point at which even if I'm going to get the email and I'm supposed to get the email, I cannot sit there and think, that brain freeze we get when we're saying, okay, what should I say? Okay, dear, no, hello, good morning. Oof. And then you're thinking of the subject line. Great meeting you at the, well, thanks for our conversation. And then the intro, like it's all these little parts of just one email. And you're like, how do I best approach this? Okay. So we're either going to, we're not going to eliminate emails probably, but we're going to either delegate them or we're going to automate them. And I'll show you in a moment. Transfer client setup. Amanda, I just want to take what you said. Transfer client signups and officially sign them. Okay, gotcha. So like I think you're saying if someone applies to something, client signups or submits an application, or a contract, and then you have to get them into the system. So two things. You can delegate that, but you can also automate that. So with emails and transferring client signups to officially get them signed up, both of those can be automated. Okay. But again, before I move on to the next slide, I want to make sure you realize you either eliminate it because some things are you're just doing them because you haven't created a better system for it, or you did it when you first started, but you didn't realize there's a better way, or it's no longer necessary. So eliminate those things. If you as the CEO are doing work that if you are doing work that is not CEO level work and you need to be doing bigger things, you've got to delegate it to your team member who's supposed to do that work, who's probably better at it, faster, more efficient, and maybe even more interested in it. And then lastly, automate. So when it comes to automating emails, consistency of automating anything, and your whole process and your workflow and everything, consistency is the new currency. Simplify, measure, automate, review, train, empower, and repeat. That's the smarter framework. So you can take a screenshot if you want, but you can also just take notes of this. And this is something, it's really just like we're missing some points here as an entrepreneur or as a leader in our business. We are not just taking steps to simplify what we're doing. Our processes are so clunky, maybe because we came from another type of corporation where everything was manual. Maybe we used to work somewhere that was just always stuck in old traditional ways. I don't know. Are we measuring like the impact on our bottom line? If we're spending if we're supposed to, like, let's say we're in sales and we get bonuses if we make sales, but we spend all of our time emailing about, back and forth questions on customer support, and we measure the fact that, man, I lost, $100,000 in sales commissions because I'm doing admin work, for example. Um, can we automate? You guys can automate almost any process, pretty much any process, and then review your systems on a regular basis. If it's working, if it worked 2 years ago, great. Well, we're in 2025, AI is taking over a lot of things in a positive way, and we need to make sure we're using it. But not only AI, we just, client demands are different, our employees' demands are different, and most likely our own demands are different. So we should be regularly reviewing what we're doing. All right. And then training ourselves to, like, on new systems, new technology, but also our people, making sure that we're training them on the new, not only technology, but the new processes. Hey, we used to always do this way, but that's no longer working for us. It's not serving our business, and it's draining us, and it's not efficient. We're going to do something new, and I'm going to train you on it. Empower other people to do the things that need to get done in your business. And whether that's a fractional team member you hire, if it's someone you trade services with, like, hey, I'll be your HR if you'll be my, I don't know, COO fractionally, right? We can maybe support each other. Whatever it is, whatever person you're empowering, make sure you're really empowering them. Give them the tools they need, give them the training and the processes and the delegation and the automation that they need. And then repeat what works, get rid of what doesn't. Okay, so let me go back to email automation. Let me pause here since I said it earlier. If you look at Google and you go to Compose, there is a, let me just share something here. Hang on one second. Okay. I'm going to share a different screen in just a moment. And so what I want you to do is see that it's so easy to share, or sorry, to customize templates for your emails. And actually, is there anyone who doesn't know how to do that? If you don't know how to create a template for your emails in your own existing, Outlook or Gmail, you can put if you don't know how to do it, like I don't, or yes. Is there anyone who does not know how to create? Okay, so since we have a small group and no one has said they don't know how, I'm going to assume that everyone does, so I won't share it. Okay, so what I want to make sure you know is that that's what you should be doing, at least from a very simple automation step. Go ahead and create a draft for any type of email you get, and then just use it as a template. All you have to do is, click the three dots, I guess you already know, and then save the name of the template. So Jaron and I have plenty of custom templates, and it's because we realized we were getting several different requests in, and we just said, like, you know what, let's just systematize this. So we did that long ago. And so now when a speaker sends us a request and they don't go through the proper protocol, for example, through our website, we just send them that automated message, address them by name, change out the name or the greeting, maybe if it's morning versus afternoon, and then we hit send and we're done with it. And so if you can just do that simple automation, I don't know it in Outlook, but if you do it in Google, it saves your life. And everyone on your team should have some preset templates for just responding to emails. All right. So I told you about the Smarter framework. And then what I want to do is challenge you to right now. You can do it actually in probably 15 minutes, but I don't know what your schedules are like. So I want to just give you a 3-day challenge. And that is identify one draining task, whether it's responding to emails, which you all seem to have under control, but some of you did share that's irritating. And that's one of those kind of like nagging little things that you always have to do. If it's repetitive and you put it in the chat as repetitive, let's see if you can identify that and a way to automate it or delegate it. So responding to emails, answering repetitive questions, returning voicemails, ordering supplies, scheduling meetings, etc. Now, when it comes to answering repetitive questions. If you don't have a frequently asked questions sheet somewhere on your website or on your automation, like on your, like if you send out MailChimp, emails by MailChimp or some other like email service, and you can just include a link that says like whatever your topics are, whatever your newsletter's saying, somewhere in there it can just be all your standard links that people can click on anytime. They don't have to be related to the content of that newsletter, but it just like in the footer, it can say something like, hey, here are frequently asked questions about X service, whatever that is. Or, if I'm sending out emails to our clients related to human resources, here are HR frequently asked questions, or people who are requesting translations from us. Here are our translation FAQs. If you wanted a quick tip, you can create a frequently asked questions list for each of your service lines. And so do me a favor, if you could tell me one of your service lines, doesn't matter who it is, just put in the chat like one service you provide or product. Registered agent services, awesome. We all need that. We all better have that. Okay, registered agent. So that's where someone can receive your legal documents and make and I guess receive service for you from any paper served from a legal standpoint. So if you wanted to create a frequently asked question sheet, yours might be, the top 10 most frequently asked. Why do I need one? How much does registered agent services cost? Do you cover all of my services, or what's excluded? Like whatever people ask you on a regular basis, having a frequently asked question sheet is so important, and it can save you time. You don't ever have to answer that. Or if someone does send you that message, you can say, hey, here's a link to all of our frequently asked questions, right? And then you've covered everything. So you might prevent the back and forth from one person who asked one question that could spiral into other questions. If anyone else wants to put a challenge or something else in the chat, I can give a quick suggestion of an automation. All right. And then I know, Amanda, you also said earlier transferring client signups and officially signing them up. So there is definitely there are automations for that. And I would encourage you, they're more intricate, but I would encourage you to make a one-on-one meeting with me through the sustainable link for WACIF. And Jaren, by the end of the call, Jaren can grab that and put that in the link, and we can talk about that more, because it's actually a several steps process of a workflow. And so in part of that workflow would be, embedding emails and the documents that need to be signed, and, automating even the signature process all through that workflow. So we can talk about that. You're welcome. All right. And so, yes. And also I mentioned in the 3-step process to delegate or automate, a chatbot will save you so much time. So we have a chatbot on our website, talentology.us. You can customize it to the T. And there are so many different services out there that offer them. What I'm saying though is you should have that so people can just pop in and ask you a quick question. You can respond in real time, or you can let them know they can send their question. You'll, maybe it's going to get, delegated to someone else who's actually the person who responds to all of those. But there's also a thread and a workflow that you can create to make sure that they get to the right question and the right answer is routed to them. Okay. So just like I showed you in the workflows, you create workflows for your bot. And it can be a live human, or you can have a bot that you pre-program with those answers. So it still saves you time. It's delegated to a bot and it's automated. Okay. All right. And so when you make your changes, you can pick one simple system in your 3-day challenge and eliminate, delegate, or automate. When you look at it, you should be looking in terms of revenue or profitability. Did I just save time doing that? If I can create less work, less repetitive work, and save time, which is money, and save money or bring in more revenue, we're on the right track here. So we look at, let's say Jaren is, she makes $100 an hour, okay? And she works 10 hours a week, okay? So now we know that her daily rate or her weekly rate she's spending way too much time sending emails. I don't want to pay someone $100 an hour to send emails, right? So what I'm going to do instead is say, okay, now I'm going to cut down all emails away from her, and I'm going to have her do the business development task where she's going to write the proposals only. She's no longer focusing because I'm paying someone $100 an hour to write proposals, right? So now she's going to write those, work 10 hours a week at $100 an hour, and her $1,000 is going to go toward revenue generating activities rather than to admin tasks. Okay. And then if I can cut out the amount of time she's, contributing to emails, let's say by 3 hours, now I'm saving $300 on admin work. And I'm putting that toward more valuable work, if you will. I hate to say that, more valuable, but you know what I mean, like revenue generating, excuse me. All right. And then just compare the cost before and after you make those changes to see if they were beneficial. All right, so we have come to the end of the actual presentation, and I would love if you want to connect on LinkedIn, you can take a screenshot or scan the QR code and join me on LinkedIn.